All right, something big just dropped and it's flying under the radar. Google just launched a new AI tool called Opal that lets you vibe code real web apps. And it's not some half-baked demo either. It builds full workflows you can edit, share, and remix directly from your browser. While that's happening, Google's other AIs are out here crushing international math competitions and decoding ancient Roman history in seconds. So yeah, things are getting serious. Let's talk about it. All right, now Opal feels almost too simple at first, but that's the point. You're not diving into menus or writing any code, you just start typing. So here's how it works. You open up Opal, type in what kind of app you want to build, let's say a budgeting tool, or maybe something simple like a daily planner, and Opal takes that description, runs it through Google's internal models, and gives you a working prototype. You're not just seeing a black box output here. Opal actually lays out the entire app as a visual workflow. Every part of the process is shown as a step. Inputs, outputs, logic blocks, data handling, it's all mapped visually. You can click into each step, tweak it, change the logic, or edit the prompts directly. And if you want to add something completely new, there's a drag and drop toolbar that lets you bring in fresh components without any scripting. You're literally telling the AI what you want, watching it generate the logic, and then fine-tuning it in a flowchart style editor. The whole thing feels more like prototyping with ideas rather than code. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Once you're done, you can hit publish, and your app is live on the web, shareable through a link. Anyone with a Google account can access it. There's even a gallery of public apps built by other users that you can remix. So if someone already built a quiz generator or a habit tracker, you can fork that template, make your own tweaks, and release your own version. The remix system is built right into the UI. Google's been framing this as a vibe coding tool. That's a term that's starting to catch on, and it basically means that users don't have to think like programmers anymore. You're thinking in terms of what the app should feel like and what it should do, not what code needs to run under the hood. Tools like Canva, Figma, and Replit have already moved in that direction, but Opal pushes it further by making natural language the primary interface. And it's not like Google didn't have something similar before. Their AI Studio already supports prompt-based workflows for app creation. But Opal brings that down to a more intuitive, visual level. The whole idea is to make app development approachable for people who've never written a single function. You don't need to understand variables, conditionals, or loops. You just describe what you want and edit what you see. Now, as of today, Opal's still in public beta and it's limited to the United States for now. But even in this early stage, testers have already started using it to create static front-end apps like calculators, checklist tools, mini planners, and custom portfolio templates. It's not quite ready for full-scale back-end systems or real-time apps, but honestly, that's not the point yet. This is about rapid prototyping and casual product thinking. It's for educators, creatives, small business owners, and even hobbyists who've got ideas but never bothered learning to code. One cool aspect is how Opal handles logic. Let's say you're making a quiz app and you want it to track correct answers and give feedback. Instead of setting up conditionals or writing JavaScript, you just describe what should happen when a user clicks an answer. You could say something like, if the answer is correct, display a congratulatory message and add 1 point to the score, and Opal maps that into the workflow. That visual mapping also helps you troubleshoot. Since everything is modular, you can isolate where things go wrong and fix them step by step. No need to parse through hundreds of lines of syntax. It's basically like watching your app's brain work in real time. And because it's tied into Google's broader ecosystem, there's potential for even deeper integrations later. Think Firebase for backend, Cloud Functions for dynamic tasks, maybe even Gemini integration down the line. None of that's live yet, but the infrastructure is clearly being laid. Now let's talk about where this fits in the larger AI space. Now, as of today, Opal's still in public beta and it's limited to the United States for now. But even in this early stage, testers have already started using it to create static front-end apps like calculators, checklist tools, mini planners, and custom portfolio templates. It's not quite ready for full-scale back-end systems or real-time apps, but honestly, that's not the point yet. This is about rapid prototyping and casual product thinking. It's for educators, creatives, small business owners, and even hobbyists who've got ideas but never bothered learning to code. One cool aspect is how Opal handles logic. Let's say you're making a quiz app and you want it to track correct answers and give feedback. Instead of setting up conditionals or writing JavaScript, you just describe what should happen when a user clicks an answer. You could say something like, if the answer is correct, display a congratulatory message and add 1 point to the score. And Opal maps that into the workflow. That visual mapping also helps you troubleshoot. Since everything is modular, you can isolate where things go wrong and fix them step by step. No need to parse through hundreds of lines of syntax. It's basically like watching your app's brain work in real time. And because it's tied into Google's broader ecosystem, there's potential for even deeper integrations later. Think Firebase for backend, Cloud Functions for dynamic tasks, maybe even Gemini integration down the line. None of that's live yet, but the infrastructure is clearly being laid. Now let's talk about where this fits in the larger AI space. Microsoft's been aggressively pushing GitHub Copilot across its suite. OpenAI's code interpreter, now called Advanced Data Analysis, is out there doing real-time programming. Meanwhile, platforms like Lovable and Cursor are riding the same vibe coding wave, focusing more on creativity than syntax. Opal is Google's answer to all that. It's not a dev tool, it's an access point for regular users to build things they otherwise wouldn't even attempt. And that's important because the no-code and low-code market is exploding. Gartner's saying it's growing more than 20% annually, driven mostly by people who aren't professional developers. Tools like Webflow, Glide, and Bubble have already cracked that code, but Opal brings the same energy with generative AI at the center. Still, there are limits. Right now, you can't hook up a database, there's no real authentication beyond Google login, and backend logic is off the table. If you want a dynamic app with user accounts and API calls, you'll need something more advanced. But for the kind of apps most people want to experiment with, stuff like generators, planners, forms, or interactive visual tools, it's already super capable. Now, not everything's sunshine and vibes. There's a valid concern about ownership and data control. These apps are hosted on Google servers, and they're built with proprietary models. That raises questions about intellectual property, especially if someone uses Opal to prototype a product idea or business tool. For now, it's probably best for experimentation and early concepts, not for anything mission critical or privacy sensitive. But overall, the vision here is clear. Lower the barrier to creation, make software feel like sketching an idea, and let AI handle the heavy lifting. It's one of the cleanest implementations of that idea we've seen so far. Now, switching gears for a second, let's talk about something that went a bit under the radar but might be just as impressive: Google DeepMind's performance at the International Mathematical Olympiad this year. So just for context, the IMO is the absolute elite of math competitions. 6 insanely hard problems in algebra, geometry, number theory, and combinatorics, solved by the smartest math students from around the world. Only 8% get a gold medal. Last year, DeepMind's models AlphaProof and AlphaGeometry 2 managed to score 28 points out of 42, which is silver medal level. They needed help translating problems into formal logic languages, and the whole process took 2 or 3 days. Impressive, but not human level yet. This year, though, they came back with a new version of Gemini in deep think mode, and things got wild. Gemini solved 5 out of 6 problems perfectly, scoring 35 points, and it did it within the 4.5-hour competition time limit. That's officially a gold medal score, and the IMO graders said the solutions were precise, clean, and surprisingly easy to follow. The difference? Deep think mode. It's a new reasoning setup that lets the model run multiple lines of thought at the same time instead of following just one path. That means it explores, compares, and combines different ideas before giving a final answer. The team also trained it on a massive dataset of high-quality math solutions and used reinforcement learning focused on theorem solving. And it worked. No translation needed, no formal languages, just natural language in, full proofs out. This version of Gemini is being rolled out to trusted testers right now, including actual mathematicians, and could become a major asset for research, education, and scientific discovery. All right, now here's one last project you probably didn't hear about, but it's super clever, especially if you're into history. Google researchers just launched a model called Aeneas. It's trained to restore and contextualize ancient Roman inscriptions, yep, actual Latin texts carved into stone, often damaged or half erased by time. Traditionally, historians would spend months analyzing fragments and trying to match them with similar texts to figure out what they said, when they were written, and where they came from. Aeneas does that in seconds. It can match wording, syntax, and stylistic features across more than 176,000 Latin inscriptions pulled from databases like the epigraphic database Roma and Heidelberg. It's even multimodal, meaning it looks at both the text and the actual image of the inscription. That lets it estimate geographical origin, filling in blanks where even the number of missing characters is unknown. It restored damaged inscriptions with up to 73% accuracy, and even when the gap length was unknown, it still hit 58%. That's a huge deal for archaeology and classical studies. They even tested it on Emperor Augustus' Res Gestae, one of the most debated inscriptions in Roman history. And Aeneas gave a probabilistic distribution of dates that perfectly aligned with current scholarly theories. It's now available for free at predictingthepast.com, and they're open sourcing the code and dataset too. So yeah, AI is not just making apps and solving math problems, it's literally decoding the past now. That's it for today. Hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.